Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a deep dive into the weather forecast for Azerbaijan. We're focusing specifically on Baku for July 21st through the 30th, 2025. Our mission, as always, is to unpack the detailed reports and sources you've provided us. We want to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising facts, so you're incredibly well-informed fast.
Yeah, and what's really compelling about this one, I think, is how the immediate weather outlook for Baku, it isn't just a standalone forecast. It weaves directly into Azerbaijan's broader climate situation, the long-term trends. It gives us a much, much richer picture.
All right, let's dive straight into it then. What does the forecast actually say for Baku over those specific 10 days? What's the immediate temperature situation looking like?
Okay, so you can expect it to be predominantly hot and sunny. Daily maximum temperatures are projected to hover between 30 degrees Celsius and 36 degrees Celsius. That translates to about 86 to 97 Fahrenheit.
Okay, 86 to 97. Got it.
And unfortunately, the nighttime lows, they're only going to offer limited relief, generally staying quite warm, between 22 and 27 Celsius. That's 72 to 81 Fahrenheit.
So definitely hot. But I remember reading something about the real field temperatures being, well, even higher. How big a difference are we talking about there?
That's a really crucial distinction, yes. While those ambient temperatures are high, the real feel is, the critical indicator for how it actually feels on your body for the health impact. Our sources show they're consistently expected to exceed 38 degrees Celsius, which is 100 Fahrenheit.
Wow. Over 100 real feel.
Potentially soaring up to 42 Celsius, that's 108 Fahrenheit, on several days. And this indicates significant thermal discomfort. A lot of that is driven by the humidity, expected between 21% and 54%. So that real feel figure is paramount for any public health advice.
Okay, with that kind of intense heat, I imagine people are wondering about rain. Any relief there? What's the forecast say? And is that typical for July in Baku?
Right. Well, the immediate outlook is very dry. The forecast indicates a really low chance, only about 0 to 5% across that entire period, which, yes, absolutely aligns with July being historically one of Baku's driest months.
Makes sense. But stepping back a bit, something that seemed quite striking in the wider climate trends for Azerbaijan. It seems even if total rainfall might be decreasing, there's an increase in severe, intense downpours. How does that work? It seems contradictory.
It does seem counterintuitive, but it's a vital point. Even if the overall annual rainfall goes down, that increase in the frequency and the intensity of heavy rain events is key. It means any isolated, sudden downpour, even with that low probability we just mentioned, could still potentially lead to localized flash flooding or even landslides, particularly in vulnerable areas. So low chance doesn't mean zero impact if it does hit.
Interesting. Okay, something else I found particularly intriguing in the sources was about Azerbaijan's local winds. The Khazri, that cool north wind, and the Julvar, a hot south wind. How do they play into this forecast? I saw moderate gusts up to maybe 32 miles/hour are expected.
Yeah, the wind direction really matters for perceived comfort, especially with those high real feels. A dominant northerly Khazri, that cooler wind, even if it's just moderate, could offer some crucial relief, make it feel a bit less oppressive. Whereas obviously a Julvar coming from the south would just make that heat feel worse. So that detail, wind direction, can make a big difference day to day.
Now, this deep dive also showed Azerbaijan is already warmed by about 1.3 degrees Celsius since the early 21st century. And we're seeing more hot extremes, more heat waves. That's quite a jump, isn't it? And what's the connection to the Caspian Sea? It's right there. Baku's on its coast.
It is a significant jump, yes. And the Caspian Sea situation is, well, fascinating and worrying. Its average July temperature near Baku is around 24 Celsius, but it's seen record highs of 30 Celsius in recent years. There's a clear warming trend just over the last decade. And on top of that, the sea itself is noticeably shrinking. This has profound ecological and economic implications for the whole region, everything from fishing to shipping.
Okay, now here's a really fascinating kind of complex paradox the sources highlighted. Azerbaijan is hosting COP29 this year, the big global climate summit. Yet over 90% of its exports are petroleum-based, and it ranks 24th globally in hazard risk. That's quite a balancing act, right?
It absolutely is. It really highlights this critical tension many countries are facing, How do you reconcile a major economic alliance on fossil fuels with the urgent need for climate leadership, for building resilience? For you, the listener, I think this just underscores the importance of being prepared. For instance, that very high UV index in the forecast, 7 to 10, that really necessitates strong sun protection. And the general safety advice applies. Constant hydration, seeking shade during peak hours, say 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., wearing light clothing. Basic stuff, but crucial in this heat.
So putting the immediate forecast and these broader climate trends together, what are the sort of actionable takeaways for different sectors, maybe like farming or city planning?
Yeah, it's definitely not just about individuals. For agriculture, the focus really has to be on water-efficient techniques, coping with heat, potential dry spells, but also being ready for those sudden, intense downpours we talked about. For tourism, advising visitors clearly on heat safety becomes really important. And for urban planners, it's about integrating heat mitigation. More green spaces, maybe permeable surfaces, things to combat that urban heat island effect, which just makes city centers even hotter.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the main takeaway? This July 2025 forecast for Azerbaijan. It's more than just daily temperatures, isn't it? It feels like a snapshot of how immediate weather and these long-term climate shifts are really intertwining, creating some complex challenges, but also maybe opportunities for adaptation.
Exactly. What really stands out to me is the critical need for continuous meteorological monitoring, yes, but also dynamic risk assessment. This deep dive shows us that even these low probability events, like a flash flood in a dry period, can be severe because of those underlying climate vulnerabilities. We need to be watching constantly.
So for you, our learner, here's something to think about. How might other countries, maybe those facing similar climate paradoxes, the economic reliance versus climate risk, these dual threats of flash droughts and flash floods, how might they innovate to build resilience against what seems like an increasingly unpredictable climate future? That's a big question. Thanks for diving deep with us.